works live on my end. All right, ladies, I believe we are. We're going to check. If you're with us, you're watching Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton.
Mhm.
And we are live, and tonight's show is one for the books. America with host Shana Thornton. But there we go. That's proof that we're live, ladies. And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk America with your host, Shana Thornton. This award-winning program is back. We took a few weeks hiatus. It was summertime, allowing the executive producer and host some much-needed time break over the weekend, but we are fully charged. And tonight's topic is going to impress, dazzle you. It may encourage you. That's what we hope. And it may be one that triggers some feelings. But you know here at Let's Talk America Radio Podcast, we believe that transparent, real, solution oriented conversation is what will save all of us on all levels, be it your physical health, be it your emotional health, or your mental health. And speaking of mental and emotional health, tonight we are talking about the wounds caused by the matriarch figure in your life. We're talking about mothers, ladies and gentlemen. And many times, of course, all of us know the roles that mothers can play in lives, but all three of us that are sitting right in front of you also know that mothers, fathers, children, none are perfect, right? And as we grow, we realize there are things in the past that needs to be healed. And a lot of times that can come from your primary caretaker. And we don't need to tell you the figures. You know, a lot of children in a lot of households are ran and led by mothers, okay? And mothers work hard and do a lot. But I've got two experts on tonight that's going to talk about also the full journey of motherhood. And sometimes, perhaps, that when they're not healed themselves, they repeat. They repeat, ladies and gentlemen, that R word, perhaps curses or tragedies of things that they were done to them, even without knowing. And what does that do to that child? Well, tonight's episode is all about the wounds of mothers and how to heal and move forward. I am no expert on that, but I've got two amazing women that do a lot of counseling for women and men when it comes to relationships with their mothers. And I'm so excited to have with us on two ladies that are going to tell us a little more about their background. We have with us the amazing Kristy Keitt is on with us. So excited to have her on. She is a pastoral counselor with us. And we also have the one and only Leigh Smith is on with us. And she is a mental health counselor as well, and also a restorative leadership coach. So I love that. As you can see, these ladies are equipped and ready to have this conversation. But many of you already know here on Let's Talk America podcast that we have a tradition where we allow our guests to tell us what motivated them to go into the area they're sharing with us tonight. Right. I can read their resume and their CVs, and it's impressive, and education and certifications. But behind all of the titles and behind all of the show appearances and speeches in front of massive crowds, there are individuals. Who is the Kristy that believes in sharing this platform? And who is the Leigh? And why? Why are they motivated tonight? First, Kristy, I'm going to put the spotlight on you, lady, to tell us exactly what got you here. You're with us tonight,
Yeah.
and you're talking about wounds of the mother and healing, and it's possible. And I know you come from a Christian-based pastoral viewpoint of
Mhm.
healing and working through those issues. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shana, for having us on. We're super excited to be here. You know, it is interesting. This was not something I sought out. This was something I was called to. And really, really swiftly, I was actually in school to become a professor in film. And the Lord literally stopped me 4 classes away from graduation and said, "You are going to change your major to pastoral counseling." And I thought that that was ridiculous and crazy. And I told the Lord no. And I argued with him for a good 5 minutes, but I called. And long story short, within 24 hours, the Lord had shifted my major from film to pastoral counseling, because he said that there was coming a season where the people of God were going to need a safe space to heal. And so that's why I'm here. I'm here because the Lord is ready to heal some people, but there has to be trusted advisors to help them in that space.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. I love that. That is such a real account of why you're
Mhm.
here. God led, and thank you for being with us
Yeah.
again. Excited about this conversation for you to take it away from your perspective. We also have with us your counterpart, the one and only Leigh Smith. And Leigh, I know
Yes.
your resume, like Kristy, is very impressive, but as you know, my friend, you've done a lot of media work as well. There's always a motivational factor, and I would like to know what's yours.
Mm.
Listen, I tell you what, the Lord told me a long time ago that working with women was where I needed to be seated. I started off as the president of the I Don't Do Women Club, but that came from a traumatic event that happened to me as a kid. And so
Mm.
I began this journey of understanding and trying to get to really the root of why do women move like we move?
Mm.
And I would say about 3 years ago, in forming a book club and having conversations about relationships with sisters, we stumbled upon a book by Dr. Joy Harton Bradford, who is a therapist here in Atlanta and the creator of Therapy for Black Girls. We stumbled upon her book, Sisterhood Heals, and began to go through and understand why many of us are the way we are.
Mm.
Why do women struggle with relationships with each other? Is it because we were hearing our grandmamas on the porch, talking about Miss Susie across the street, and then as soon as
Okay.
Miss Susie came out, hey Miss Susie, how you doing? Those types of things. And it was really a book that challenged us to think about our introduction to sisterhood. Who taught us how to be a good sister? Who taught us how to be a good friend?
Mm.
And so when that happened a couple of years ago, I reached out to Kristy, and because of just her training and her heart, I said, Kristy, I hear the Lord asking us to touch on mother wounds. We talk a lot about dads and the absence of
Yes.
dads and
Yes,
the
Mhm.
we do.
absence of them in the home and addiction and how that plays a part. But we have not really delved into what happens when the mother of the home is raising children, doing the best she can, but is unhealed and ends up bleeding over her
Mm.
babies. We
Yeah.
don't have that conversation, and we don't question why do we have certain relationships with our mothers and we just kind of pass it off with that's just how she is. Yet we're hearing more and more people who are going no contact now with family members, including moms. So that is the reason why we are here today. And we just
Mhm.
want to help one sister at a time, very
Yeah.
carefully, very, very gently kind of delve into this space.
Yeah.
I love that. And we have so many people watching as well as men. So I do want to let everyone know, and thank you, Leigh, for sharing your story and a journey with us and motivation. If you're watching us, we want to hear from you. We want your questions. We want your feedback. If you're a mom right now or a dad right now, and trust me, you had a matriarch figure in your life. Maybe it wasn't your biological mother. Maybe it was an
Mhm.
aunt. Maybe it was a godmother. Maybe it was a stepmother. We want to hear the good and not so good, and maybe perhaps what got you where you are, or if you're still in the midst. Okay, we want you to know this is your show, this is your platform, and we're going to get those questions going. But males are with us too, and men are impacted by the roles of
Very
mother
true.
as well.
Yes.
And Kristy and Leigh, it may even be more complicated for our
Yeah.
male counterparts because we know naturally males can be very protective of
Mhm.
a
Yes.
mother as well. I did want to start sharing some comments, and everybody get those comments in. To our YouTube family, you are busy tonight. Thank you for being with us. And Facebook family, hello. You are watching a live episode of Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton. And we're talking about the wounds, the hurt caused by mom, that M word. And we're getting to the bottom of it and how can we heal and move forward and be the best versions of ourselves. Dr. Washington said, shout out to the Sage Sisterhood Collective. So I'm sure that's for one of you ladies as well. Thank you, Dr. Washington, for being on with us. And we want you to stay with us and get your questions and comments in. I want to open up with my first question for you, Kristy. Both of you ladies painted a picture of mothers being so impactful in their children's lives, right? And I'm going to say this, Kristy, to a large degree, it's taboo to
Mm.
criticize mom, right? And we're
Yep.
not talking about getting on a platform and start naming mom's name. That's not
Right.
necessarily what we're talking about. But we are talking about when people are healing, when people are trying to be the best professional, the best mother, the best aunt, the best friend they can be. There
Mhm.
are insecurities that come up.
Yeah.
And you and I, Chrissy, know how important it is for parents to have a stable, dare
Mhm.
I say it, that stable role in the child's life.
Mhm.
And just give us some mere vague examples of how that can lack with mothers. Is it, and I think so many times we think of physical custody, but
Mhm.
let's talk about some of the emotional and mental anguish or disruption that can be caused by our beloved mothers.
Absolutely. Well, what I want to say first is that, when it comes to our mothers, and even what we're talking about today, like you said, Shana, we are not here to bash your mother, to tell
That's
her
right.
that she didn't do good enough, that she isn't great
That's right.
enough, that she was a failure. No, but what we are trying to bring to light is that maybe some things have happened to her that did not give her the skills to give you everything you need.
That's
And
right.
so, no, we're not here to blame. We're here to shine a light on something, to say, hey, maybe we can both heal together, because this isn't just about the child who was wounded. This is also about the mother who was wounded and just gave what she could. And the dangerous piece about this is that, especially for our mothers, we have created this idea, what's the word I want to use? We have created our mothers as an idol, and we feel like we can't bring correction or bring
Correct.
the issues that we have with our mothers to them, because it automatically looks like disrespect. But can
Correct.
I tell you that healing only comes in truth?
That's
But
right.
only when I begin to talk about the things that have hurt me can I actually expect them to do better for me. So if I can't communicate where I've been wounded and hurt, then I can never expect more from the family or
That's
the
right.
friends or the community that I have. And so
That's right.
maybe that mother lost her mother and she never saw what it meant to be a godly mother or a good mother. Maybe that mother was in a relationship that was not safe and it wasn't healthy. And she took that, the anger and the bitterness of that, and told their daughter or told their son, you don't ever let someone do this to you. And instead of giving them boundaries and parameters, we go extreme left or extreme right, and there's no middle ground. And so
Correct.
what this conversation is about is, hey, it's okay to highlight, but it's also okay to understand that we are all in a place where we need healing, we
That's
need
right.
strength,
That's right.
and we need the education of what it looks like to be healed, because maybe we've never seen it in our family.
Yeah.
That's right. That
Mhm.
is such a powerful point. I want to say this. There are so many times I have heard people echo the following statement. Well, that's my mom. It's nothing I can do about it. That's mama. So mama gonna get what she want. I can't tell my mother what to do.
Mm,
And you thank you, Kristy, for pointing out this is not a segment of bashing
no.
anybody, because we all know often when you see someone hurting someone, be it physical, mental, or emotional, let's be upfront about it. Typically, that person has been broken themselves. And
Yes.
Yeah.
instead of healing, they have chosen to repeat what they know and what's comfortable. So,
Yes.
to
Mhm.
a large degree, mother, and all of the dysfunction she may be possessing, is also making her a victim. However, we cannot use the excuse once we get to a point, Leigh, right? Where
That's right.
mom, well, that's how it was, and she was beaten and she
Mhm.
was neglected and
That's
she
right.
was seen but not heard.
Mhm.
And her needs were put to the side. So it's
Mhm.
almost like for some parenting, right, or guardians, well, it's my time to do it because somebody did it to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the component of healing where
Mhm.
people want to be transparent, as Kristy said, they want to be truthfully. But what happens when someone wants and sitting watching us right now in New York City saying,
Yeah.
this is a great conversation. I want to confront my mom and just told her she
Mhm.
hurt me. But mama's not trying to hear that because she's 75 years old.
That's
Help
Yeah.
us out.
Yeah. I think putting words to what you're feeling, um, first of all, releasing yourself from being responsible from your
Okay.
mother's behavior.
that's
I
good.
think a lot of times children carry what their mothers carry, and
Mhm.
Yes.
they feel like they need to
Yes.
carry the burden, carry the story, carry the legacy, carry the trauma, and that's not it. So the first thing would be to release yourself from
Mhm.
everything that you have carried from the time you were 3 or 4 and you were trying to take care of your mother. That was never yours to carry, and I'm
Okay.
Mhm.
sorry that you had to do that, because I know there is someone who is listening in who has done that.
Mhm.
That's the first thing. The second thing is putting words to it. It
Mhm.
made me feel small. It made me feel insignificant. It made me feel that it was my fault. coming up with words and being able to write them down. That's why journaling is so powerful.
Yes.
And because when it comes out of your mind into your fingers onto paper, sometimes that's the first time you're seeing it. It's tangible. You can
Yeah.
touch it. And then when you say it out loud to yourself, sometimes that's the beginning of really sitting in what happened to you as a
Mhm.
child, and being able to name it, see it, and be like, okay, this is where I am.
Yeah.
So really, Kristy and I like to say this really, the mom may be the origin, but the work really is within with you.
Correct. That's
Us.
right.
So if you don't ever have a conversation with your mom, letter writing is helpful. Maybe
Okay.
your mom has passed, because something else I want to point out quickly, Shana, is that sometimes it's not that the mom was unhealed or hurt or broken. Sometimes the mom died when you were 10.
That's right.
Maybe
Mhm.
she died when you were 20. That's
That's right.
still early. I mean, that's still adolescence.
Absolutely.
And so you missed so much of grooming and conversations with your mom. And so you struggle with relationships because of absence due to physical death,
Mhm.
addiction,
That's right.
incarceration,
That's
all
right.
the things.
That's right.
So I would honestly say, really, before you even have the conversation with your mom, have the conversation with yourself
Yeah.
and tell yourself, I am enough. It's
Mhm.
not my fault.
Yeah.
Um, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I can break this. I don't
Yes.
have to be her,
Mhm.
and start there before you have a conversation with mom.
I
I
think that's
love it.
good, Leigh. If I can add something, it
Sure.
also breaks cycles,
Yeah.
because the more we ignore it, the more the cyclical thing just continues to happen. And the very thing that you said that you would never be, you become because you've never dealt with it.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
so if you can look back 2 to 3 generations and see, well, great great grandmother had an anger problem, mom has an anger problem,
That's right.
I'm dealing with rage. Well, maybe
That's
it's
right.
not because somebody's wounded, it's because somebody didn't put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
And
so
the
we
stopping,
start with us.
Christy, has to start with the person in the mirror,
That's
right?
it.
Gotta start with me first, because if I
Yeah.
don't heal myself, then how can I even go back and have a conversation about something that I don't want to touch? I don't
Mhm.
want to have a conversation with, because now then what are you getting in the room for? What's going
Yeah.
to happen if we can't sit with ourselves and say, hey, this has affected me and I need to do the self work, but then I'm still going to go back and
Mhm.
I'm going to ask, I'm going to invite. It's not that they may come. Some mothers, again,
That's
may
right.
never agree, may say I forgot, may say
That's
that
right.
you are too much, may say that
That's right.
you don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
That is not for you to carry. Your responsibility is to bring the awareness and to rewrite your story.
That's it.
Beautiful. And I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are watching your award winning Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton. I'm Shana, of course. I'm on with the one and only Kristy Keitt. She is a pastoral counselor. And also, Leigh Smith is with us as well, mental health counselor. And we are addressing the wounds created by mom, beloved mom. It's a taboo subject. Many people won't touch it because, as many people say, mom is mom. She's always my mother. And we're not here to dispose any of that. But we
Mhm.
are talking about real healing and real transparency, which comes with maturity,
Yeah.
which comes with stability and growth, to understand as much as we love all of our mothers, there's not one mother on earth perfect, and
Right.
they're not. They are
Mhm.
not. They are not, and that's
That's
not
right.
up for debate, ladies and gentlemen. If, and perhaps just to be real, if you're seeing that, perhaps you have rose-colored glasses on, and you're
Mhm.
always to respect. I don't think neither three of us are ever
Mhm.
suggesting not to, but we also have to be grounded so we can improve for the
Mhm.
next generation. You
Mhm.
know, Kristy, I want to talk about something Leigh said, that often children will take on mother's wounds herself. Right, especially if you have a child that may be a leader, right, or who's up and coming. If it's the older child, perhaps, or if it's a
Mhm.
boy who loves his mother greatly. And Leigh said something real. She said, you've got to realize you've got to love yourself, and it's good enough. Right now, we
Mhm.
want to do real talk for real people. There are millions of people around this globe right now who would love to do that, but they are still seeking validation, Leigh and Kristy, from a mother
Mhm.
who may be dismissive, a mother who's left this earth already, she's gone, or perhaps for a mother who could be cruel, or she's passive aggressive. These are real things that real
Oh
people
yeah.
go through, right?
Yes.
I have
Yes.
friends, I've done reporting. So help that person right now, because they should be able get to the point, as Leigh said, to say, I'm enough. But you and I know, all three of us ladies, that when you want so bad to be loved by that primary figure in your life,
Yeah.
and let's be honest, every mother is not loving her child. She may be paying bills. She may be providing a roof. She may be feeding you. None of that necessarily means they are showing you how to love,
Yeah.
right? And we all
Absolutely.
know that there's a difference between providing and loving. There are lots of
Yes.
fathers and mothers previously that
Yeah.
provided and didn't
Yeah.
have conversations with children, never
Mm-hmm.
engaged with the child. So
Yes.
love is not money, ladies and gentlemen. I know we
Yeah.
have dating rules where people now are all over Instagram and TikTok, and then when he shows you love is a high price dinner. That's not
Mm-hmm.
love. That's
No.
just a high price dinner.
Correct. Correct.
So, Kristy, help that person right now, that young man sitting in San Diego, beautiful city, right now, California, and saying, I just want her to accept me as I am, and not showing up at every Sunday dinner or
Yeah.
not Thanksgiving, nitpicking me, reminding me of the job I don't have, reminding me of the school I didn't finish, reminding me of what I'm not, or even, dare I say this, Leigh and Kristy, that you remind me of your sorry daddy, because there are things that
Mm.
real life males have gone through, especially Generation X. Help us
Yes.
out.
So I want to say this to both male and female, and this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, so I want you to hold on to your seat. She may never get to that point. And I'm sorry. But until we recognize that what we may actually need from my mother may never come,
Wow.
then we will always be stuck in the prison cell of the wounds that have been created. I have to acknowledge that my mother may never come and hug me and tell me that she loves me, but that doesn't dictate who God has called me to be.
That's right. Amen.
So the first thing is, I need you to be aware and understand and get okay with it. May never be comfortable, but I need you to get okay with the fact that she may never come and give you what you're actually seeking, but there is a God in heaven that will.
That's right. That's right.
He will give
That's
you
true.
everything that you need if you will choose to allow him to be in that space. The second thing I want to tell you is that this is why community is so vitally important. If you can't get what you need from your family, can I tell you that you can have a family of choice?
Yeah.
You have people that are closer than blood, that will show up for you in places that your family refuses to.
Yes.
I will give you just a really quick testimony. My husband and I, we went through a very traumatic time where I was in the hospital for 40 days. We had a child at 25 weeks. He was in the NICU for 6 months. And there were some spaces where our friends showed up for us in ways that our family.
That's right.
And it was because we had the community that we were able to continue to live life and not lose our minds in the hardest situation in our lives. And so if you don't have community, if you aren't connected to a local church, if you are isolating yourself, can I tell you that that is where the enemy does his best work? And so vulnerability, having the conversation, so showing up for things like this, coming to retreats that we're going to talk about in a little while. These are the spaces that give you the permission to heal in safety and in love.
I love that.
Mom may never give you what you want, but I promise you God will send somebody that will.
And I know someone that often says blood makes you related, but it doesn't necessarily make you family. And ladies and gentlemen, these are facts that I'm just spilling out here. Somebody's mother or father or brother or sister is the person that may be one who cannot connect with you. It's not always somebody else, because as we meet people in life that are broken, and we all have our stages of brokenness, those people had children too. Those people belong to families too. And it is illogical to think that everybody you are blood related to is put together well, because you would be the only one in the world. And how did you get so lucky? Ask yourself that. And as one of my dear friends say, if you can't figure out the person, it might be you.
That part. Well, speaking as a only child, Shana, I adopt a lot of people.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
we talk about a village,
Yes.
Yeah.
choosing a spiritual mom or an auntie or just another woman who has traits and qualities that are endearing to you is okay. And
Yeah.
and sometimes you have to seek those relationships, and
That's
those
right.
people can show up and they can fill in the gap and they can give you a love that can help you through this.
I love
And it's
that.
not
And it is
replacement. Can I say that? It's
Mm-mm,
not replacement. It's
mm-mm.
just
correct.
making sure you have what you need.
That's it.
Correct. Correct. And that's so important. And I want to say this is as we have blended families, and I'm proudly a product of a beautiful blended family.
Yeah.
You just said something key, Kristy. It is not a replacement, right?
Uh-huh.
And people can look at it, view different, because there's some people that have gone viral talking about how they see it. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily someone coming to be the mother that's not there physically, mentally, or emotionally. But as you said, someone a part of the village
Mm-hmm.
showing you that you are loved. And I
Mm-hmm.
do believe as blended families develop more and more in the United States,
Oh
we know
yeah.
that's happening with a high divorce rate,
Mm-hmm.
that it for people to accept that there's never a competition,
Mm-mm.
right, another husband that is
Mm-mm.
marrying the mother
Mm-mm.
or a stepmother, right? It's about more people loving that
Mm-hmm.
child and
That's it.
pouring into them. And how lucky
Yeah.
are they,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
am
good.
in a blended family right now.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
our daughter talks about all of her parents. That's how she
I love
relates
it.
to us. All of her parents. So she
I
has
love
a
it.
village, and you're right. Blended families are there, and it's a journey, right? It's complex. There are good days, there are bad days, there are ups, there are downs. But
Mhm.
when you put the child in the middle and the child is the focus, then yeah, they just get a whole big village and a whole bunch of people who just get to love on them and add to their growth. So
Correct.
so
And
needed.
Leigh, and the good days and bad days happen in biological natural families as
That
well.
part.
So you don't get to
Yes,
escape that because you stayed married to the father of the child. Just
that's
just want
right.
to make that clear.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a
That
fact.
doesn't go away, people.
No, it does
Ladies
not.
and gentlemen, you are watching the award-winning Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton. Of course, I'm Shana. We have Leigh Smith on with us, a mental health counselor, and we have the one and only Kristy Keitt is on with us as well. She's a pastoral counselor. Both ladies are out of Atlanta Metro. They've got a great event coming up, and we're going to get to that in about 15 minutes. But I did want to give a shout out to everybody giving us the comments. I'm going to go through them very briefly. Denisha, hello. She's on YouTube. She's saying yes. Great information. Regina is watching us live on Facebook. She says, right, confirming the information you're saying. Minister Latrina Reed is watching out of Atlanta Metro, and she says, this is good and so needed. Thank you
Mm,
so much. We have Vicky and Robert watching us out of Atlanta Metro. Amen. This is so true. Also, Vicky and Robert out of Atlanta Metro said, the best family is a family that you choose for yourself. Thank
mm,
you for providing that feedback for us. Pastor Chris Scott said, this is good stuff. She's a pastor in the Atlanta Metro area. Dr. Washington said, this is a wonderful conversation. Having community is paramount.
Mhm.
Also, we have a minister, Reed, out of Atlanta Metro again. She's saying, is making your choice family a priority really healing or masking? Oh, that's a
ooh,
good question, right? Because
And
I love all the confirmations and everybody saying yes, yes, yes. But Minister Reed, and she does a lot of community work out there, working with people that have had some traumatic things happen in their life. And
yeah.
I'm going to, and both of you ladies can tackle that. I'm going to start with you, Kristy,
Mhm.
first. That's a good point. Is for
Mhm.
some people, it's almost like you break up yesterday and they go find another person to date
Yeah.
5 hours later because they don't want to be alone. I got to go to the movies with someone.
Correct.
Help us out.
It all depends on your intentionality.
Mhm.
Because yes, I can find a community to cater to my dysfunction.
That's right.
Mhm.
Or
That's
I
right.
can find a community that I will submit myself to and say, hold me accountable. I'm going to be vulnerable and share the issues that I'm having, the hurts that I'm having, the gaps in my life. And I'm asking you to be in that space. So it
Mhm.
requires you to be real with what you are actually looking for. If you just want a yes corner, a bunch of
Mhm.
people that say, yeah, girl, your mama ain't did A, B, and C, and D.
Uh-huh.
If that's what you
Mhm.
want, you can go out there and find that. But if
That's
you
right.
really want to heal for real, then you're going to involve, and I might sound like a broken record, but you're going to involve the Lord and say, God, God, send me the people that are going to hold up my arms like Moses.
That's
The
Mhm.
right.
people that are going to be intentional and stand by me and say, girl, you're wrong. Go say sorry to your mother. I don't care what
Okay.
she did to you. The Bible says the first promise was to honor your father and mother, and then he will give you long life. And
Yeah.
so regardless of what mom has done, you are still to honor the woman because that is the position God gave her.
I
You
love
can't
it.
Mhm.
change who you were born from, but you do
Yeah.
have to honor the position that she has in her life. Now, that doesn't mean
Mhm.
access. Let me
Mhm.
be very clear.
That's a valid
Doesn't
point.
mean
Say,
that I
echo that
see,
part again,
come
because
on, it
that
does
doesn't
not
mean
mean
you're still
access.
you're not a glutton for abuse,
That's
emotional
right.
abuse,
Correct.
because that's mom.
Mhm.
Correct. It does not mean that I have to submit myself to the abuse.
Mhm.
It just means that I can say, yeah, that's my mom. I love her and I honor
Yes.
her as my mother, but we don't have a I'm coming to your house every day relationship.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
okay. That's called boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leigh, talking
Yeah.
about going back to Minister Reed's question of when
Yeah.
people are masking it, I want to dig deeper into that because Kristy brought up a valid point. You can
Mhm.
get your girlfriends or get you a new
Mhm.
honey that's like, oh, yeah, your mama's all wrong. Your mama's this and
Yeah.
that. But I want to talk to you right now. We're talking about coming into adulthood, not
Yeah.
talking about children because they don't have the skills or the resources
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
heal necessarily most of the time, unless they're taught and they're getting therapy and help. But
Correct.
I want to, from your perspective, and you've seen a lot, you've counseled a lot,
Mhm.
people in different situations. What happens though when people are not accountable? Because we're talking about
Mhm.
mama being accountable if
Yeah.
she's wrong, if there's some dysfunction there. But what
Mhm.
about us as the
Mhm.
person? Like to Christy's point, you yelling back at mama.
Mhm.
You know it's her birthday, but you're on this. Well, I'm not going to tell her happy birthday because I know it's going to hurt her. And let's be
Mhm.
real, for some people, they keep going back to the trigger point that may have happened at 13 years old
Mhm.
and wanting her to pay for it for the rest of her life while she's on this earth. Please
Yep.
talk about that part.
Yeah, let me first say the difference between masking and choosing is that when you put on a mask, you are covering something.
That's right.
You are covering a blemish, you are covering a mark, your
Mhm.
eyes, your mouth, you are covering something. And so when you are choosing to do something different, you are well aware, you are open, you are vulnerable, you are clear, you are free, you are aware of what is happening. And so that would be the difference in terms of masking and choosing.
Mhm.
Now, when you decide to just mask, then you essentially just put on that sin and put on that burden, that trauma, and you just continue it. And it's
Mhm.
not even just about you. We sometimes don't think about our children's children. You
That's
know,
right.
we
Mhm.
don't think about legacy. And so if we choose to just mask, then we just carry on the pain and the dysfunction and sometimes become that which we have hated or that we have received pain from. And so there's no justification at that point. You become a part of the problem. And
Mhm.
so it's so important that we really think about what Kristy mentioned in that promise. You have to release people, whether
Mhm.
they deserve it, whether they ask for it. You have to release them, forgive them for you.
Mhm.
Why? Because you just carry their stuff unnecessarily, and they may not ever atone or account for what they've done for you,
Yeah.
done to you or through
Yeah.
you at this
Mhm.
point. So,
And such a great point. I know it was mentioned earlier. The apology, the love, the hug, the I
mhm,
messed up, that
mhm,
may never come. And it was
mhm,
pointed out that it may never come. It's not
Mhm.
about being negative, right?
mhm,
But Kristy, you echoed it. It's about being realistic that
Mhm.
there's a likelihood, if you have not gotten it out the first 50 years of your life, half a
mhm.
century, there's a high possibility she's not going to get what you need. And what a great point, Leigh, where you're saying you write it and journal it for yourself and
Yeah.
putting your emotions on
Mhm.
the table. Ladies, let's get to the questions because they are very much busy in our chat. Michelle out of Facebook said, great, good conversation. Thank you, Michelle, for tuning in. Morris Colvin out of YouTube said, hello, ladies. I'm a father of four. Sometimes it is, I think he's saying, dysfunction. I'm sorry, I think it's a typo there,
Mhm.
Mr. Morris, but he's saying the dysfunction of the mothers. That's a great point. Thank you, Morris, for bringing that up. I hope I'm not stretching it too much from what you were trying to say.
Mhm.
We often talk about the subject of mother's dysfunction. Let's talk about the father who may have
Mhm.
mothered children with or
Mhm.
fathered children with this mother, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes he's still in the household. Perhaps there's a divorce or there was a breakup.
Mhm.
I got to put this question on you, Kristy. For the gentleman that's seeing the dysfunction or the hurt a woman is doing to the child, what can a father do in a vague general sense if he sees it? He sees his kids on the weekend or he has split custody and he's seeing some true damage being done, be it mental, be it emotional, right? And I want to say mental and emotional because being realistic, that's harder to detect. Right?
Mhm.
It's easy to see if someone's starving a child. It's easy to see if she left a child in their apartment for 2 days, right? If someone's paying attention and able to see it. It's easy to see the bruises, right? But it's harder, right? Necessarily to see of talking down to the child, telling the
Mhm.
child that he or she is stupid. You're never going to be anything. You're a waste. You get on my nerves, right? These are
Mhm.
comments mothers around the world will say.
Yeah.
And then the next day, this is maybe where the child gets anxiety. But so she's tearing him down on one note. And then on the next day, tomorrow, she's going to go up to the school because someone was messing with her baby. The kid's emotions are all over the place because the same woman that downed them is the same woman that says nobody else better not down them. But how
Mhm.
does the father who may be trying himself to help heal a baby,
Mhm.
how can he help or counteract that in a healthy manner where he's not seen as the villain tearing down the mother? Because that's a tricky part with men.
It's such
Woo.
a good question, and
Woo.
I actually want to, and this is what I want you guys to understand about myself and Leigh, is that we understand that we both have perspectives, we both have experiences in our lives, and we will never try to give you something that we don't have language for. So I actually want to pass this to Leigh because I believe that she
Okay.
has the
Yeah.
wisdom to be
Thank
able to help
you.
with this
Thank you
situation.
so much. And I did
Yeah.
want to say, and Leigh, before you take it away, and I
Mhm.
always do this disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The information here on LTA radio is for general awareness and informational only. For
Mhm.
specific concerns, if there's anybody, especially a child, in danger, you're to call the authorities, right?
Mhm.
Even if it's mental or emotional,
Mhm.
right? Although we know it can be more complicated, but please get specific help to save that individual for later in life as well, so they can be
Yeah.
the best version of themselves. But
That's
Leigh,
good.
take it away.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real
Yeah,
question that is happening every day. First thing to the dad
yeah.
is dad, listen to your children. Listen to
Hmm.
them through their voices, not your experience with mom.
Sure. That's right.
It is
That's a
very
powerful
easy
point.
when our children come to us and tell us things that their mom has done that we are like, she did that to me too. I
That's
understand,
correct.
and then you can begin to work through your own stuff that's unhealed through your
Mhm.
children, and that's not healthy either.
That's
What I
right.
like to recommend is that you listen, allow them to give words, allow them to give their emotions, and
Mhm.
there should, and I rarely use never, but there should never be an opportunity that you take to bash the mother if the kid is
Beautiful.
going through the experience.
That's right.
Focus on the kid
That's right.
and their
Yeah.
feeling. And the first thing you do when a child comes to you, or maybe they don't, right? Maybe you notice that when the child comes to you, you have to deprogram all this stuff.
Mhm.
You just want to give love. Daddy
Yeah.
loves you. I know it's hard going back and
Yeah.
forth with mom and dad,
Yes.
but daddy is so proud of you that you
That's right.
you get up and you come, and even with tears you come,
Yeah.
and that
Beautiful.
you just reinforce the love. Now if they say mommy was mean to me, mommy talks about me, or mommy, if
Mhm.
they give a real example, then you have to ask yourself in that moment, what is the best for the child then? I'm so sorry that happened. Tell daddy more. You want to get more
Yes.
information, because
Hmm.
even though it may not be a physical bruise, these
That's
emotional
right.
bruises
That's
that
right.
can create themselves can have lasting impact. And
Yeah.
so this might give you data. And I would say this to any father: data, document. When that child tells you, write it down, a date, what the child was wearing, what they said, how they expressed it. keep the data because it may help you make some decisions down the line about involving their counselor at school,
Correct.
getting a counselor in the community or a counselor at
Mhm.
church.
Yeah.
But validation is the biggest tool that you use, and active listening, meaning you want to hear your child's voice more than they hear your voice, except for to
That's
say,
right.
I'm so sorry.
That's good.
Daddy loves you. We also don't want you to give reasons why mom may do what she does,
Mhm.
So
because
good.
if it is
That's
something
good.
that is illegal or abusive, you don't want the child to think, well, daddy thinks it's okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why repeating, I'm sorry this happened to
That's
you.
right.
Good.
What God tells us is that we should love one another. Or, what Mima taught daddy is that we do it this way. That's how you kind of reinforce and give that child language and give them a space to come and say, it's not getting better,
Mhm.
because
That's
that's
right.
the thing.
Mhm.
That's good
It
too.
may not get better, and while children are young and going through the back and forth, switching
Yes.
up for the weekends, this may not end overnight. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to sound the alarm, but it does mean is that you want your children talking to you, and you
Mhm.
want to collect data, and you want to get them other outlets to communicate healthily. Does
Correct.
that help?
Correct. Yes,
That's
yes.
so good.
Very,
So
very
good.
helpful. And Leigh, as you were speaking, I will say too, and people can interpret things very different.
Hmm.
And you were so poignant when you brought up, do not use it as an opportunity to identify with the experience, because mom and dad may not be getting along at that point
Yeah,
with co-parenting, or never got along because they broke up, and that doesn't always mean you don't get along. You could have grown apart. But
yeah,
I think it's also key to recognize too, and I don't want to overlook this, because some people may be like, well, see, I let him go to bed at 8, and she is letting him go to bed at 11. That's emotionally unstable. There is a difference of
that's right.
house rules and structure and what's
Mhm.
detrimental to a child. And
Yes.
and
Very true.
and I think sometimes people allow those lines to get mingled where they're not looking at it. That doesn't make him or her an unstable parent,
That's right.
Mhm.
right? That may mean that household could be more structured, a little
Hmm.
Yes.
more rule oriented or stricter. So
Hmm.
making sure also they're being fair and not
Hmm.
looking to tear down the mom or the dad so much that
Yeah,
they're taking something simple
yeah,
as, they took me off my device for 10 minutes. Oh, it's
yeah.
traumatizing. That we're
Mhm.
being realistic about what is really harmful to a child, and
Hmm.
what may also just be a different structure makeup as
Yeah.
well.
And the goal should be that dad and mom, despite their relationship status, can have conversations together about the
Yes.
child. Now, you have to be careful with that, especially if there is already a tense relationship with the
Yes.
mom, because you don't want it to look like you are calling and trying to check her about her
That's
parenting or call
correct.
her out on her parenting. Some parents will then take that out on the kid, on the child.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
Mhm.
have to be careful. And but I want to come back and say that because I mentioned collecting data, and I don't want to make it look like I'm encouraging a gotcha moment. But the goal should be at some point that you call and say, Teresa, hey, just wanted to talk about Sean a little bit. He was a little sad. Have you noticed anything at your house? You don't even have to come out and say it right away. Have you noticed anything maybe that I should be looking for here?
Correct.
And just
So
ask
good.
lots of questions so that
Mhm.
you all can have the conversation together. Ultimately, when children see their moms and their dads on the same page, they are happier,
That's
even if
right.
they're not together.
That's right. And
Mhm.
remember something you echoed in the beginning, Leigh. It's about keeping the child's well being at the
Mhm.
center.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened 20 years ago, not what
Mhm.
Yeah.
happened 5 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
about the child. And that may mean sometimes with
Mhm.
parenting resetting. It
Yeah.
wasn't a
Yeah.
good last month, but let's
Mhm.
try it again for the
There
sake
we
of
go.
our
Mhm.
daughter. And
Yeah.
Yep.
and and, and that's so much of life in general. We're back on topic. Where What a great conversation, ladies. So
Yeah.
excited to have Kristy Keitt with us and Leigh Smith. And we're talking about the wounds, the hurtful wounds caused by dear beloved mother. It's a taboo
Mhm.
subject for many communities, but we want you to be the best version of yourself. And to a point that someone brought up earlier, if we can talk about the absent father, we also need to talk about the mother's role. And sometimes mothers are absent, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
mothers may be in the home, but not totally engaged.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
lots of different reasons. No parent is perfect. It's not about bashing a mother or a father, but
Mhm.
allowing individuals to heal and restore or gain a new perspective of their life where they can own it, right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
21 years may have come from some dysfunction in the household, but you're going to
Mhm.
claim that the next 50 belong to you on
Come
your
on.
terms of success. Thank you,
Yes.
Stacy, out
Yes.
of Atlanta. She's saying this is good content. Thank you. We also have, I'm going back up, Sadiqa Gibson out of Atlanta. She's watching and she said, a timely and awesome discussion. Thank you, Sadiqa. Minister Latrina
Mhm.
Reed said, thank you for taking on her question about masking. She gave us claps. Mr.
Absolutely.
Morris, back out of YouTube, said, he steps in and brings balance by sharing the load. Okay,
Mhm. All
so
right.
and thank you, Morris. I think we're going to interpret that perhaps in our
Mhm.
own perspective, but
Mhm.
um this is never an excuse, right,
Mhm.
Kristy?
Mhm.
But there are times where we know parenting can be stressful. That doesn't
Mhm.
give a mother or a father or a grandparent the right to
Mhm.
bash a child, to harm a
Mhm.
child emotionally or mentally.
Mhm.
But real talk for real people. No one's put it in the comments, but I'm going to say it. There are women around the world. They're not necessarily harming their child in any way, but they're exhausted.
Mhm.
And you and
Yes.
I and Leigh all know when
Mhm.
you're exhausted from a long day of work, when that child comes in and says, I don't want spaghetti, I wanted penne pasta. It's easy for the mother, who may be the primary caretaker, to snap
Mhm.
off. And thank you, Morris, for saying perhaps, and I'm interpreting this and how I'm reading it, that perhaps if he is helping with the load, that could help
Mhm.
perhaps with a balanced view. But I don't ever want to make an excuse for any emotional abusive behavior either.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think too, you if you're that mother and you have that level of stress on your life, or you're trying to figure out how do I maintain my sanity as I am taking care of a household alone without bleeding on them, I want to refer back to what we said earlier, that there has to be community. There
That's right.
has to be community. And I want to mention this really quickly. I want to do like a really quick shameless plug, but at the end of the month, I'm doing a small group called Living Out of Laundry Baskets. It's to help
Mhm.
mothers declutter spiritually, naturally, and mentally. Why? Because
Mhm.
we need to understand that motherhood is not a prison sentence. It's a ministry. It's
Yeah.
something that God has given to us. And it can be culture shock. There are
Mhm.
going to be days where you're going to walk in the house and you're like, I don't want to do nothing for these kids because I don't want to do nothing for myself. And that's just real. And so for some of our mothers that have gone through mother wounds, it's not that they don't want to be good mothers. It's just I was from end to end. I was pulling my hair. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to communicate my needs. I didn't know how to heal myself. And so I just gave my kids what was at the bottom of my well. And the truth is
Yeah,
if you
that's
don't know
right.
how to fill
That's right.
yourself back up, if you don't know how to encourage yourself, if you don't know how to sit before the Lord, or do the
That's right.
self-care that you need, what you will give at the bottom of your well is the muck and mire. That's the bitterness,
Yeah.
that's the anger, that's the
That's right.
resentment, that's the
That's
Mhm.
right.
control. And you will bleed that onto your children, and you'll wonder why they walk in the house with the same attitude you have. It's because
Mhm.
you haven't learned how to heal. And so you've
Okay.
got
Yeah.
to have the community. You have to
Yeah.
have the
Correct.
people in your life. You got to have
Mhm.
that friend that you can just take and say, pray. I ain't got to tell
That's
you
right.
Mhm.
nothing. Just pray.
That's right.
Because I am in a space, I am in a headspace that is not
That's
healthy
right.
for me. And I have been so vulnerable with you that I
Mhm.
can just say
Mhm.
pray and you know what to pray.
That's
Correct.
good.
And
And when you pop off, when,
Yes.
because it will happen. Some of the biggest examples of leadership, not just for leaders in a job, but leaders of households, is to be able to say, I'm sorry.
that's right. Thank
Mommy,
you. That's
mommy
right.
Mm,
was sleepy. Mommy was frustrated.
That's
I'm
right.
frustrated,
yeah.
not just with y'all. I'm frustrated with life.
Yeah.
We
That's right.
try
With
so
life.
hard to be superheroes from our
That's
children.
right.
They see we are not. And so
We're
being able
not.
to say, this was a hard day. Mommy was upset. I'm sorry, mommy snapped at you.
Yeah.
Let's try again tomorrow. I'm
Leigh, that's
sorry, and using your
so
words
good.
is
But
so
but I
powerful.
do, and I do want to say this because both ladies, you're faith-based counselors as well, and
Mhm.
obviously you honor the Holy Bible as Christian ministers, both of
Mhm.
you as well. And this is where the conversation of traditional, and I'm not saying not that's it from the Bible. I'm saying traditional structure or individuals if their faith information came from grandmother, right,
Mhm.
or a mother or a father where blind obedience was pushed, right?
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
I bring that up because I know that can be a tough subject for some people to
Yeah.
hear, but
Yeah.
the blind obedience comes in as I'm never going to apologize because I'm the adult. I'm the
Yeah.
mother, right? And what they would do is twist the words you brought up, Kristy.
Oh
Honor
yeah.
thy mother and father. So I can do
Yes.
anything I want to you. I'm the adult, and you do it because I said it as your mother and father. And
Mhm.
I just want to say this as someone who's a health journalist, podcaster, who brings a lot of health topics up. Ladies and gentlemen, if your mother and father or the guardians are stable, logical, and never get agitated or never get irritated, but those people do not exist. And
Yeah.
also the fact that as people age or as people can have issues, mental health crisis, which happens more than people want to
Yeah.
admit. People
Yeah.
can get
Hmm.
dementia, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People can be in a dark space. So the
Mhm.
blind obedience isn't logical.
Mhm.
I would never encourage any child to disrespect any adult or
Yeah.
their peers.
Mhm.
You shouldn't disrespect another 18-year-old, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
but the blind obedience mentality, Kristy, just being real, I've heard it a lot of times in my life where people are like, I'm not apologizing. They should do what I say because I'm the mom and da 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 da.
Yeah.
Help us out with that mentality because some people feel they're
Yeah.
at odds with that.
Yeah.
This is where the cycle continues. Because this is
Mhm.
what mom did with me, so I'm going to do it with you. But
That's
the
right.
truth is did it benefit you? Did
Mhm.
you feel safe enough to have the hard conversations that you needed to have? When you were hurt outside of the home, did you come and bring that to mom? Or
Mhm.
were you afraid to have those conversations because I'm supposed what mom says goes, period.
Mhm.
If you want transparency and vulnerability and a difference with your children, you first have to model what you want to receive.
Mhm.
That's
And so
right.
for some of
That's
us,
right.
there is a pride issue. Just
Yes.
because you are the parent does not
Yes.
mean that you have the foresight to know all and be all. There are some moments that even myself, I will come to my daughter and say, baby girl, mommy just didn't have it today. And I am so
Mhm.
sorry. And
That's
yes, I'm
okay.
talking to a 5-year-old child, but the truth is just as much as she should honor me, I should honor
That's
her.
that's
I
right.
gave
Mhm.
you the least of me today, and I
Mhm.
want to give you the best of me. So I am going to come in full humility and say, mommy didn't get it right this time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm going to explain to you what it should look like, because that is what breaking the cycle looks like. It
That's
doesn't
it.
mean that I
Correct.
do everything perfect, but it does mean that I
Correct.
have the humility to say
That's
I
right.
am living
That's
life,
right.
and I have a human experience, and
That's
I
right.
am going to fail you, because the
That's
truth
right.
is, and again, this is the faith base, only God is perfect. I will never
Mhm.
be.
Correct.
And if I
Mhm.
make you
Correct.
believe that I am, you are going to take my
That's it.
imperfections and make them truth when they are actually a lie.
Correct. Correct. And I
That's
think
it.
too, Leigh and Kristy, sometimes as
Mhm.
people, I've known people where obviously with a respect and honor, but when they do put their perfect right on a pedestal, when the crash comes, they become very bitter. And I
Yes.
have seen disrespectful of a parent later in life.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So it's obedience, obedience for the first 25 years. And then you realize mother's not perfect. That
Yeah.
her turning you against the father side of the family was never based in goodness.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
It
Yes.
was
Oh
you
yeah.
had an issue with that family member. And so you
Mhm.
wanted to get your story out and you told it to innocent ears when
Yeah.
that conversation should have
Mhm.
never been had with
Yep.
children.
Yes.
I do want to give some more comments out as we begin to
Mhm.
close out and you ladies talk about your amazing event coming up. Michelle out of Atlanta Metro is on YouTube and she says, hello all. I joined the conversation late, but right on time for this discussion. Thank you.
That's my
Brandy
mommy.
Green.
I love you, mommy.
Brandy Green, she is a medical provider. She is a nurse practitioner out of Atlanta Metro. She says some cultures need to address mental health. It is not it is okay not to be okay. Leigh, I'm going to let
Mhm.
you tackle that for the next few seconds as a
Yeah.
mental health counselor. For
Mhm.
people to admit they don't have it all together,
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
as the mother, right? Because she's superwoman. She can
Mhm.
take care of the kids, work 2 jobs, be a
Yeah.
social media content creator, and she
Mhm.
can go to brunch with her girlfriends on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
What do you mean she's not put together? Help us
Yeah.
out.
So let me tell you what this turns into for children. When we see anxiety show up, this is found in children who feel like they have to be perfect. They feel like they have to juggle all the plates that they see mom juggle. They feel like they can't do anything wrong. They can't have a misplaced hair. They can't have a
Oh,
bad day at school. They can't get a C in the class. Got to have all straight A's. We put so much
Mhm.
focus on grades, not so much on character. That's another podcast show.
ooh, yes, it
But
is.
Come
Stay
what
on.
tuned.
happens is that you are creating angst, and kids are like this. They are wound up, tight, anxious, and they think they have to be perfect. And so,
Yeah.
what you're doing is that you're modeling masking, Minister Reed. That is masking. And we're
That's
teaching our
right.
children how to do that. And
Mhm.
so, part of this superwoman syndrome, which it is a thing, it
It
is
is.
a syndrome that describes women who take on so many things. And sometimes it's
Mhm.
not even that you have to. Sometimes there's some other things inside of you that make you feel a way, or it's a void that validates you because you
Mhm.
didn't get that validation from a man,
That's
from a
right.
mom, or
That's
from a
right.
job or
That's
something like
right.
that.
There you go.
And so when that happens, you don't feel free enough to say that I'm struggling, because that means that you're not perfect. That means
Yeah.
that you aren't this. Fill in the blank. It admits that you really don't have the control that you're trying to
There you go.
portray. And this is the beginning of healing, admitting that you don't have it all. I have to say this because, Shana, my background is healthcare too.
Yes.
This is why women in their 30s and 40s and 50s are having strokes and heart
Mm.
attacks,
Come
because
on.
they can't undo the release valve. We're like pressure
Mhm.
cookers. And
Yeah.
it is because we won't say, I don't know, or I don't know how, or I need help. We are so busy proving, especially
Mm.
as women of color, that we just
Yes.
have to be
That's right.
200% better than everybody else to be heard and respected, when all we need to be is us.
That's
You see,
right.
Yeah.
you have to
Thank you.
door open. If you
Thank
got to
you.
force the door open, it ain't your door. If you have
Thank
to
you.
scream
Come on.
loud, if you have to lose character, if you have to do all of this in order to get respect, that's not a room you need to be in. And so we
Mhm.
have to figure out who is the authority, who validates us, who says that
That's
we're a good
right.
woman, who
That's
says
right.
that
Yeah.
we're productive, who says that we're a boss, all of these names.
That's
Who
right.
says that? And what does that mean? Does that mean we're dying daily? Does that mean we're getting
Mm.
3 or 4 hours of sleep at night? Does that
Ooh.
mean that we can't be in relationships with men because we know better and we
Come
can be a
on.
better man than they can? What does
Oh.
that
Come on.
mean?
Ooh.
And so we
Yeah.
have to get to a point before our heart or our brains stop us through heart
Mhm.
attacks and strokes,
Mm.
and be able to say, I ain't got it today, y'all. I don't know. I
Correct.
need help. I
Yeah.
need help.
Listen, even Superman
Yeah,
had kryptonite.
That's
He
yes,
had a
right.
weakness.
that's right,
Yes,
There
he
sis.
is
did.
none of us are going to get it right every
Yep,
single day of our lives. We have
yeah,
let society lie to us and tell us that we
That's
got to be
correct.
the poster child of perfection when
that's it.
perfection does not exist.
Nope.
No.
We have literally
No.
assumed the responsibility of something that you cannot attain. And we're
Nope.
killing
Correct.
ourselves as
Correct.
women, and even as men, we are
That's
killing
right.
ourselves
That's
trying to
right.
be something that is not possible.
And raising
You
anxious
can
kids
correct.
Correct.
because they're
It's
watching
the
us.
cycle.
And I want
It's
to
the
bring something up to the superwoman syndrome you both are echoing. Think about something. If she's everything to everybody, what does she have left of stability and calamity and peace for 3 or 4 babies that are waiting just for a hug at night, just to lay in the bed with mother, right? Because if it's always gotta go, it's a schedule. You gotta go to dance, you gotta go to piano, but where is the mothering coming in?
Yeah,
Because mothering is
Mhm.
not paying for piano lessons.
that's it.
That's not
No.
mothering.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's nice to
No.
expose. I would never take that
Yes.
away. But the mother is who is reliable, who is the one person. And if you're lucky
Yeah.
to have two or three, congratulations. But everybody, especially our minors, need that one stable person. And it can be grandmama, it can
Yeah.
be auntie, it can be stepdaddy that you can
Mhm.
depend on when you're scared, alone, and
Yeah.
you're frightful.
You need
Not
one
where you share
person.
your
Yeah.
Yeah.
inhibitions and
Mm.
you're told, man up. You're not to be scared. Get out
Yeah.
there because you've got this kind of blood in you, right? And you're a real man and we don't get weak because
Mhm.
every
Yeah.
human gets weak.
That's right.
Correct. And I
Yeah,
think that's
and
the
it's
thing that we have
interesting.
missed in our families. And again, this goes back to the mother wounds and father wounds. We have prioritized success over emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're not
Yes.
Mhm.
teaching
Yes.
what it means to, when you get angry, how do I deflate myself? How do I
Mhm.
That's right.
deflate that? How do I handle
Yeah.
that? If I am
Yeah.
anxious, what do I do with that? If I am
Yeah.
fearful, what does that, how do I get courage again? We're not
Yeah.
talking those things with our babies. We're
No.
telling them, if he hit you back, hit him back. We're
Yeah.
telling them you better come home with straight A's. We're telling
Yep.
them you should be on honor roll. You should be in this club. You should be doing this. And these things are not eternal and they are not going to help them as they become adults. Yeah, it might get them a good job, but they won't function well as
There
humans
you go.
because
Yeah.
There
I've
you
never
go.
grown out of having temper tantrums because nobody
Mhm.
taught me how to regulate my
Correct.
emotions.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
And I'll
and
say
we
this, Shana,
Mhm.
Kristy and I talk about this. We don't talk about this enough. COVID was a traumatic event.
Yes, it
Mhm.
was.
The children that are in high school now were transitioning from elementary school to middle school with no social, not no, but very limited
Yes.
social
Mhm.
um, exposure to other
Capacity. Yeah.
kids and teachers. And so we are wondering why we're hearing about more fights in school. We're wondering why kids are having temper tantrums at 16, 17. They haven't learned how to self regulate their
Yeah.
emotions. And a lot of that it's because of what they watched, but it's also because we have not
Yeah.
acknowledged that COVID was a traumatic event. And we are watching kids run around with PTSD and
Correct.
parents
Correct.
that don't who also experience the trauma who don't know how to do it. My
Correct.
call to action, Shana, for tonight is to
Yes.
identify who is your safe space, who's
Beautiful.
your
Mhm.
person. We can talk, and Kristy and I could go with this with you, Shana, for another hour. But who is your person when
Yeah.
you get to a point when your jaw is clenched or your
Yeah.
shoulders are like this permanently, that you
Yeah.
call and say, I am stressed. I'm
Mhm.
having a bad day.
I need a
And if you
moment.
don't have somebody, and it may not be who you think it is, it's somebody who's going to tell you the truth and hold you accountable. Find
Beautiful.
somebody because
Yeah.
those are the people in our community, in our village, who will help us when we have times like this where we need support.
I love it. Kristy, we're going to continue going because for the interest of time, I do want you ladies to spend the last few minutes talking about this great event. Brandy, a nurse practitioner out of Atlanta Metro. Kristy, this question I'm going to put on you. She says, mothers in general tend to mask how they really feel. My question is, anyone that's a parent, be it dad as well, right? We can be fearful, but we know there's a logic to it where if they see we're anxious, right? And Leigh brought up anxiety, it could worsen it. We want to show leadership. And really quick for 1 minute or less so we can get to all the questions. Is it a bad thing for moms to hide how they really feel? Or it depends?
No, no, you should share it. If they don't learn how to regulate their emotions by watching and learning from you, they're going to learn it from someone else.
Yep.
The world is going to teach them. Netflix is
Yes.
going to teach them. Their teachers are going to teach them, and you don't know what they are teaching them.
Yeah.
But if I can come home and sit with my 4-year-old and say, Mommy's sad, and that's okay. And this is what I'm going to do in this space. If they
Yeah.
are, my children have seen me cry. Mommy, are you okay? No, mommy's not okay right now, but I will be. And
That's right.
I'm going to
That's right.
showcase what that looks like. Why? Because life is going to require so many emotions. And if I only give you happiness and joy, and life is like butterflies, when you get to become a teenager or problems come in your life, you are not going to know how to handle it. Why? Because I haven't modeled it for you. I haven't
Yeah.
given you permission to see me in my most vulnerable state. And so you have to be the one to show them so that they can pull from you first before they
Correct.
filter through with the world.
Exactly. So key to show transparency and being human, because humans,
Mhm.
we rock. But
Yeah.
we're a mixed bag, but that's okay too. I've got a question for you. Another question, Leigh. This one's your way. A
Okay.
Shuniverse out of YouTube. Thank you for watching. Has a great question. He says, great show. He says, is there a time to let go of the communication when there is no change with the relationship with them? Or do you keep trying? Leigh, that's an excellent, real question that I think millions of
Mhm.
people have often found themselves when
Yeah.
dealing with a difficult mother, father, brother, sister,
Mhm.
or significant other.
Yeah, yeah. What I like to think about is whenever I'm thinking about dealing with people, I think about that they are God's people first. And so, no matter what they've been to me, they are God's creations. And so, when I remind myself of that, it makes me just kind of take a breath and just pause and remember that I'm seeing this side of them. God sees this beautiful creation that He made. Doesn't help when you're bleeding, doesn't help when somebody has hurt you. What it does suggest, though, is that you don't change. You be you. If you feel led to have a conversation, have that conversation. Is it required? Absolutely not, because you still need to protect yourself. You
Correct.
still have to have self preservation. But
Correct.
if you know that on Mother's Day, you want to send a text or a card, don't feel guilty about doing that. You be who
Yeah.
you are, because otherwise they've changed you. So don't let
That's a
them
good point.
change you.
That's a good point.
Good.
But you have to be okay with what you choose to do and understand that it may not be reciprocated. So the question would be, what is the goal? If to
Mm.
continue conversation or to continue trying and trying is because you are desiring something in return, then that is harmful to yourself, and I would not recommend that. If
Yeah.
you're
Mm.
doing it just because that's who you are, God has called you to that, you feel like you're supposed to, then you continue to do it. And so I would never suggest that we put ourselves in harm's way
That's
emotionally.
correct.
Psychological safety is a requirement
Yes,
by
it is.
everybody, by
Mhm.
mama, by daddy,
That's
by
right.
pastor, by the boss.
That's right.
Nobody has a right to harm you and create an environment or a space that is not psychologically safe. I don't care who it is. But
That's good.
because this is such a fad right now with the going no contact, I don't know that we need to be the poster child for that. I think we just
Mhm.
decide what we're going to do and what we're not going to do.
That's right.
And
That's
so if
right.
we're not going to call on this day, we just don't call. We don't need to wave
That's
a
right.
flag about it, because, quite frankly, you have to grieve it. And that's what I
Yes.
would
Yeah.
say in these
Yes.
relationships. You have to grieve who you
Mm.
thought your
That's
mom
right.
was supposed to be. And
So
once
good.
you can grieve what you wanted or needed her to be for you, it will totally change how you look at her. In fact, you might
Correct.
even see her through a lens of mercy or
Mhm.
sadness instead of anger and what you feel like she should have given you. So
Yeah.
that's my thought with that. Yeah, don't put
No.
yourself in harm's way, but you
No.
be you. Be you.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And
So
also to
good.
be grounded enough to understand, Leigh and Kristy, that you have to accept people for who they are.
That's
And I
it.
think that's key, because even if it's dating or recognizing your mom for who she is, or your father or stepdad,
Mhm.
people are who they are.
Yeah.
And if the majority of the people listening to us are over the age of 25 years old,
Mhm.
that means their mother or father are
Mhm.
likely going to be over the age of 55,
Yeah.
right? And if you're an
Mhm.
Mhm.
Xer, majority of our parents are in the 70s or 80s right
That's
now.
right.
And
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that I only bring that up to say, and I'm very positive and hopeful for everybody to improve. But if they're 85 years old,
No
mom's
change.
likely not going to miraculously be
Yeah.
this loving, nurturing
Yeah.
person if she was not that for the first 55 years of your life.
Grieve it.
Yeah.
You have to
And
grieve it.
that is
Yeah.
accepting people for who they are. Not, and
Mhm.
we often say this in dating and the dating shows we've done, where they're like, well, you have to accept him or her for who they are. We also have to accept mom for who she is.
Yeah.
And you said something so powerful, who we thought she was going to be. We have to grieve that she's not. But
Yeah.
also I
Yeah.
think it's fair to say it's okay to say you deserved better as a
Oh,
child. And you
absolutely.
just didn't get that.
And you
And
didn't.
right.
Mhm.
And some
Mhm.
people had great parents. They were all human.
Mhm.
And some
Mhm.
people did not get a good deal on parents. And
Yeah.
that's nothing to be ashamed of, to put your
Mhm.
head down of, because you did not get to pick what family you were born into. None
Yeah.
of us do.
So
Yeah.
true. So true.
Yeah.
And you just have to, see it as part of your journey. Nothing that happens to you is by mistake.
Hmm.
And you can decide what type of parent you want to be. There are so
Correct.
many beautiful stories and examples of people who choose different because of what they didn't receive. Be a part of that
Correct.
group.
That's right.
Break the
Yeah.
cycle, break the chain, and
Come
teach
on.
your children to be what you didn't get taught to you. That's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
story here.
I
That's
know
Yeah.
someone that once said he's a great father, and he said he was intentional about being the father he wanted to be there for him that
yeah,
wasn't necessarily there
yeah.
for him. So you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, and we know this from so many people I've met that have done amazing things and amazing character. They didn't necessarily come from the mother or father that reflected that, but they
Yeah,
wanted different and they sought out opportunities, right, to
Hmm.
become that. And Leigh, you
that's
said
it.
something so powerful for so many parents around the world. Some people are so obsessed with grades, but not character.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Grades, but not character.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've often echoed that, and that is something we have to keep in mind. Is we want
Mhm.
children to be successful and make these grades, but what character and integrity are we showing them?
Yeah,
That's key.
Yeah.
Because straight
yeah,
A's, but you still out the store is unacceptable.
yeah. You
It's
cussing
not.
at your parents. That's
Yeah.
unacceptable. You cussing at other kids and bullying other kids is unacceptable. And here's the thing. A B could be the best the child could do. That doesn't mean, I mean,
Yeah.
let me just tell you, you are talking to a B on a good day, BC student. I was
Beautiful.
not a straight A student. I'm so
Hmm.
grateful that my parents allowed me to be who I was and
That's
not
right.
make me feel like I was less than
Correct.
because I didn't make straight A's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Again, this leads to this perfectionism that we
Yes.
put in our children, and they are struggling with their mental health because they feel
Correct.
like they
Hmm.
have to be perfect. Now, we can talk about what they need to have to be successful, but it's just like nowadays when you're applying to college, it's just not the GPA. They want to see what you're doing civically. Where are
That's
you
Hmm.
volunteering? What else are you doing other than your
Yeah.
GPA?
yeah.
That's what they use often to
Correct.
determine who, if you both got 3.9s, who's in the community, who's in student government, who's
And
doing
straight
everything.
and straight A's has nothing to do with the sort of parent you will become 20 years later,
That
right?
part,
Because some of the best parents could have been high school dropouts.
that
And some
part.
of the
Yes.
straight A's, Ivy
Yeah.
League, that doesn't make you a good mother. I
Mhm.
want to
That's
keep going down on the list. We've got questions as we
okay.
begin to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen.
Mhm.
Angela out of YouTube, thanks for watching. She is echoing something you just said. She said, in this era of no contact, what are your thoughts, Kristy, about individuals choosing this route? I know Leigh touched on it
Mhm.
some.
Mhm.
If that is your route, if that is what you feel like you need as it pertains to boundaries,
Mhm.
go for it. Because the
Mhm.
truth is that every situation may require something different, but you have
Mhm.
to use wisdom and the voice of the Lord to make the decision that's going to be
That's
best for
right.
you. If you
That's
know
right.
every single time I contact this person, it is drama, it is
Mhm.
unsafe, it is messing with
Mhm.
my mental
Mhm.
health, I am
Mhm.
always leaving broken, busted, disgusted, angry, and it is keeping me in a space that is not healthy, then guess what? I can love you from afar. It doesn't mean that
That's
I
That's
don't
right.
it.
love you, I don't care for you, but I understand that in the current state that you are in, so that I can be whole and continue to progress the way I need to
Correct.
love you from a place that does not require me to be wounded.
That's
I
good.
love that. Good work. Michelle says sometimes parents forget that the respect goes both ways,
Mhm.
even when that participant is a child. You're so
Agreed.
right, Michelle. We touched on that. That is so, so true. Children
Mhm.
matter
Yeah.
too, right?
Oh,
Because they are
yeah.
9, 10, or 16 years
Mhm.
old
Mhm.
and they can't contribute to the rent, does
Mhm.
not mean they don't have a voice and they don't matter. Because,
That's
in the
right.
words as
Yeah.
Leigh said, they're still children of God and He
Mhm.
loves His
Yeah.
precious minors so, so
Mhm.
much. So we know to
Yeah.
make sure we are loving on them. Alicia out of Greenville, South Carolina. Thanks for watching. She says, great conversation. Minister Reed says, we all need a safe place. So
Yeah.
true, Minister
Mhm.
Reed. Sadiqa says, I read an article recently that children affected by COVID are actually 4 years behind in emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that EI we have to talk
Mhm.
about. Coupled
Mhm.
with social media on overdrive, so they do not get enough interactions. So,
No.
so true. I know,
Yeah.
obviously, Leigh did speak on COVID and the discrepancy that has occurred. It just it
Mhm.
it disrupted everything.
Mhm.
Social
Yeah.
relationships,
Mhm.
marriages, ended at an all-time high during COVID.
Mhm.
There were a lot of things there.
Yeah.
Diane, thank you for watching us out of Illinois, said, awesome and timely discussion. Minister Reed said, break the cycle, ladies and gentlemen. Angela
Yeah.
said, powerful, out of, she's on YouTube. And we have Sadiqa said on the flip side, we have to address those who are promoting education with who are not promoting education within the home. That's so true. I was going to
I
bring that up,
agree.
Sadiqa, out of
Mhm.
Atlanta. That's more of the real concern. And she's absolutely right. Leigh, there is a segment,
Mhm.
obviously, of some parents, right, who are pushing their children to
Mhm.
perfectionism. But on the other end, and when I talk to
Mhm.
teachers and educators, there are a whole slew of them
Oh
who
yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
Trust me, academics is not the concern either.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a lack of engagement on
Yeah.
anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, they could even dismiss, so I don't worry about those grades. Grades don't indicate anything. But then
Yeah.
you're not also pouring in your child on a meaningful level either.
It's
Mm.
so true. And really you are setting them up to have something that they are measuring themselves against that they feel, less adequate. And I will say
Mhm.
this, you know, it is not the school's responsibility to educate our children. I mean, they're one part of the equation,
That's right.
but the reinforcement and the foundation of this is a priority has to come from parents.
From
If it
us.
doesn't come from the parents, when those kids show up at school, they will not care. The best teacher in the school, the best educator in the school can't do anything about it. And so too much of anything or to be on the end of the spectrum for anything is often not good. And this is another example. And when you've got high schoolers that can't read,
Correct.
and they get called out to read something and the embarrassment that comes and the teasing that comes, that's another way that you've not showed up for your kid. And so we
Yeah.
talk about wounds and bleeding and how that affects your children, not preparing them for school and not reinforcing
Yes.
school and ensuring that it's a priority is also a wrong that is
Yeah.
being
Correct.
done to our children, because at some
Correct.
point it will come out that they are in college and cannot understand or
That's
speak
right.
or write the King's
Mhm.
English. So
That is
I
so
Yeah.
think it's a
true.
great point that Sadiqa made.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kristy, Keitt, Leigh Smith, what a pleasure. We had a lot of great comments and questions on
Yeah.
there. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, for tuning in on YouTube and also on Facebook. Sadiqa said, yes, you're on spot, Miss Smith. Thank you so much for that feedback for Leigh. Leigh and Kristy both were on point. But Kristy and Leigh, I can't let you leave here without very briefly telling us about an amazing event
Yeah.
addressing the wounds and healing, right? That's possible from
Mhm.
perhaps experiencing a
Yeah.
mother, that matriarch figure, who may have caused some brokenness in you. Take it away, Kristy.
Yeah. Ladies, ladies and gentlemen, we are working on some things for you guys. So please don't feel like you are left out. Some more things are coming, we promise.
Mhm.
But September the 3rd through the 5th, we are going to be here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be in Fayetteville, and we are going to take some time to step away from the busyness of life and deal with the unspoken. We talked about
Mhm.
how mother wounds is something that is so taboo. Well, we want to take the tape off of your mouth and begin to talk through what mother wounds has done to you and where you need to heal. Again, this is not a 3-day of bashing our mothers, because we are going
Mhm.
to honor the women that God has given us.
Mhm.
But we are going to acknowledge where there may have been hurt, where there
Mhm.
may have been intentional or unintentional neglect. And we are going to give practical and spiritual tips on how to heal from those spaces. This is not going to be just some getaway where we're going to just laugh and
Mhm.
play around and play games. We are going to do some
It's
real mental and physical work. There are going to be massages, and they're going to be so much to help you heal, because can we tell you that even trauma can rest in your body? And so we have
Mhm.
been
absolutely.
very intentional. They're going to be journaling. There's going to be some coloring. That we're going to be sitting on a lake where you can do prayer walks. There's going to
Mhm.
be AMR therapy that's given to you. We are going to take these 3 days to be extremely intentional. You're not even going to binge eat. We're going to have healthy food for you. Why? Because completely whole,
That's right.
Yeah.
not just one
Yeah.
aspect of it. But we want to give you that space to really deal. And someone said it in the comments, you need a safe space to
Absolutely.
heal. And
I
that's what
Mhm.
we're
love
going
it.
to. Leigh, did
I
I miss
love
Yeah.
it.
anything?
I love. Well, Leigh, what website can they go to or email for more information?
Yeah, so they can come to at I am Leigh Smith to hear more about it. We have an unspoken Instagram site there as well,
Okay.
where
Mhm.
you can, and I think it's at unspoken underscore wounds. Is that right, Kristy?
And and later, ladies, come back and put it in the
I'll
comment
put it in
section,
there.
and we'll
Yeah,
get
We'll
but
it.
drop
reach
everything in the
out to
comments.
either of us directly. And
Mhm.
this is going to be small. We are being very intentional about this because
Yes.
we want to be able to touch and connect with every woman there. But if you or someone you knows have been experiencing this, haven't been able to put words to it, and you are interested in joining us, please reach out. We'd love to give you more information. And thank you,
Yeah.
Shana, for the opportunity to talk more
Ah,
about it.
Thank
And
my
you.
more to
Yeah.
pleasure.
come. We know, and let me just say this: Kristy and I have been praying for this over a year. I came to her
Really
a
2
couple of years
years.
ago, about two, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I know we need to do this, but I want to be in prayer because it is so sensitive, and
It
we just want
is.
to
Yeah.
make sure that we
It
care
is.
for people and do it the right way. So we've been
Yeah.
preparing for this for 2 years, and
Yeah.
we know that this is just the beginning, and that there is a
Mhm.
whole ministry that's about to be on earth with pouring into women and men who have experienced bleeding from a mom who
Correct.
just wasn't able. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank
The,
you.
thank you, ladies, Kristy, Keitt, and Leigh Smith, both out of Atlanta Metro, women who work in the Christian ministry and do a lot of counseling themselves. Thank you for being with
Mhm.
us. Again, the segment title for tonight was Mother Wounds, Breaking the Silence on the Wounds Caused by Moms. Everybody, thank you for tuning in with us. Latrina, Minister Reed said, great segment and awesome job, ladies. She gave virtual claps.
Thank
And we have
you.
with us Miss Banasha on YouTube saying, that is so awesome. You know, I want to end with this statement as a proud mother and a woman who had the blessing of experiencing some amazing matriarch figures in her life. To the mother that may have perhaps gotten it wrong, she yelled, she got irritated, she snapped at the kid, right? And we're talking about normal stuff of being irritated with they complaining about food. You can start over, right?
Yes.
You can start over and reset.
Mhm.
And there is no shame in where you come from with a dysfunctional mother, even if she was
Mhm.
great but had her issues, right? Or what kind of mother you may perhaps weren't the best mother a year ago, but you're in a better place because you were going through something traumatic mentally or emotional yourself or physical. Sometimes physically you couldn't be available.
Mhm.
I see as a mother, a proud role I get to experience is that what we want most is for our children to have better than where we came from. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about material
Yeah.
things. I'm not talking about Nike shoes. I have no interest in that, honestly. I'm
Mhm.
talking about emotionally. Whatever you went through, and that's
Yeah.
your own journey, you don't need to share with us, but
Mhm.
to improve it for this generation. And to the point that both ladies shared, that does mean from time to time we have to say, I'm sorry. From time to
Mhm.
time, you got to sit on somebody's couch. From time to time, you got to call a minister like Leigh or
Mhm.
Kristy to say, pray for them, pray for me because I'm going through a moment. That could mean that.
Mhm.
But your children deserve the best version of you.
Yeah.
Break the cycle. You're worthy of it. To all our men and women out there, there are a lot of amazing fathers who are healing from broken mothers as well.
Yeah.
And I salute each and every one of you. And Regina out of Facebook said, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Regina, for tuning in. Ladies, that's a wrap. To everybody watching us, we'll be back on soon. Stay tuned. Like this page, okay? Whatever you are watching us on, if it's YouTube, press that subscribe button in the corner, that red button, that alarm ring button. And if you're on Facebook, like us and follow us so you can get our latest episodes. Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton offers real talk for real people. That's you. And we can grow and progress and win together. We got this as humans. It takes one village. Kristy Keitt, again, thank
Mhm.
you, pastoral counselor,
Thank
and
you.
also Leigh Smith, mental health awareness counselor. Thank you so much for being with us. You ladies rock. We're going to have you back on to keep pouring into our communities. Thank
Thank you.
everyone. Have a great week. Okay. A quick
Thank
shout
you.
out
All good
to
night.
my amazing father who will be 77 years young tomorrow on July 13th. To my daddy, happy birthday,
Yay!
Dad, and I love you.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday.
everybody. Stay tuned.